A warm welcome from my side to the guests we have here to discuss really an exciting topic. It's about startups. And in a young technology as additive is, the role of startups is really of importance. To drive new ideas, to accelerate certain things. And I have a lot of good, experienced, excited and committed colleagues with me. I wonder, industry-wise, do you see certain industries where startups are developing faster than in others?
So, for obvious reasons, if you have been invested in the tourism hospitality space, that was the toughest time ever, no doubt about that. I think that's obvious from the outside. It's an area where we personally are not invested in, so we have been also in a certain way lucky. But on the other side, I think where we see really strong developments is something which I would say hasn't been on our radar so much before. It's like the complete world around biotech. I mean, everything has been accelerated by trying to find a solution against COVID, and research had to work together. Everyone had to, the financing, the research, the politics had to work together to accelerate the process of bringing innovation to the market. And we saw in our deal flow a high increase in that field, which wasn't the case before. I think before it was more like we saw it, but more from a research perspective. So in the university fields and in the research institutes, but not so much in the field of commercialization. And we saw a stronger push of startups coming to the market, which pitched to us, which were around the field of biotech. I think that's what surprised me the most. And that's one area where we definitely want to increase our focus now. We currently don't have anyone in our team, but we are in the process of hiring someone because we see an incredible potential over the next years in this field.
What we see in Munich is that aerospace actually is becoming really strong. And Niklas mentioned already Lilium Aviation, which is also a TUM spin-off. And there's also a great space startup called ESA Aerospace. It's the European SpaceX, actually using a lot of additive manufacturing technology. And I'm extremely positive that aerospace will be a strong trend also in the next years.
No, absolutely. I think especially aerospace, or let's say the space part of this industry, was certainly the one industry that also helped all of our startups through the crisis. Of course, major accounts shut down, being it automotive or certain industrial applications, and particularly space applications stayed just on track, more or less, and represented the major parts of the revenues for the startups that we are monitoring. So I can certainly confirm this. And now it's things are coming back. We even see big high volume consumer applications are being demanded in industrial 3D printing again, which has changed now.
But also mobility is okay. The automotive sector suffered quite a bit, but there are also positive trends. So we are invested also in electrical bikes, like Fazua is a company which has an incredible traction right now. So also in mobility, there are some fields which are really good. And now I think where additive is also contributing is to all the sustainability topics.
When we think on the additive value chain, so we can start with a physical one, from materials to printing to post-processing. We may also think about the digital thread in this technology. Where do you feel would be more activity of startups be helpful?
Of course, there are a lot of fields for activity. We have to keep in mind additive manufacturing is a very young technology. Milling is a couple of 100 years old, and casting is a couple of 1,000 years old, and additive manufacturing was invented in the 80s. So there is a long way to go. And I had the pleasure of looking into a mass manufacturing plant for certain consumer products, polymer products. And I was astonished by the amount of mistakes that one can still make when additively producing parts, because simply the entire process chain and the amount of manual handling is very, very, very big. And this, of course, stands somehow in the way of generating repeatable and 100% controllable output. And from my perspective, there is certainly a lot of work to be done in the automation and in the integration of this entire value chain into an industrial environment.
I wonder, Helmut, you're also engaged in some of the companies. What is your view?
So I think also from now a TUM and UnternehmerTUM perspective, I think that our biggest potential is in applications. And what we try to do also as an educator is to have hundreds and hundreds of students and researchers really experiencing and learning the technology. So for example, we have this prototyping facility called Makerspace, where people can really use the machines, work on their designs, and then come up with new ideas. And if you look at the numbers of such a university as ours, with 45,000 students, there's a lot of education to be done to really use this whole potential we have of new designers, of new application builders. And this is, I think, the journey we will do at TUM the next years.
We have pretty similar hypotheses in this field. Overall, I mean, potential can be incredibly high in the future, but if you look at the overall penetration rate per industry in the different fields, we are still at an early stage. So, and their education and in a certain way consulting and educating the application fields, the universities, the people using it is really important. That's why we look really strongly for, I would say, extremely vertically integrated solutions, which not only cover one field like hardware or software or material, but they're offering you the complete value chain integrated, because I think you need to have a full service offering to the client to bring solutions to the client, because the client needs education, because it's at an early day about materials, about hardware, about software. So what we're looking for when looking for companies is a strong vertical integration covering all the different fields, and then being more like a service provider, and that's what we find really attractive, and we are looking for solutions in that field.
What is the hottest topic? I'm not asking for a specific company. Yeah, I guess but what is the hottest topic? What makes you get really excited when you think of startup activities in the additive arena?
Well, for me, it's not one single topic. What I just love is to see all the different applications. I'm an engineer. I can understand what I can hold in my hands. And if I see a 3D printed product that is dramatically outperforming a conventionally made counterpart, it's for me like I'm standing in front of this like a little kid in front of a Christmas tree. It's new heat exchangers, electric motors that make electric cars run much, much further on the same battery charge, or implants that can last in a human body for a lifetime instead of having to be replaced every 10 years or so. And now, also maybe some insight from our tech radar, from the 300 startups that we scouted this year, 1/2 of the startups are application startups. We have never seen this before, and it shows how the industry is maturing. 2 years ago, 2/3 of the startups we saw were new hardware concepts, and applications were a smaller share. And now we see that the technology and the materials portfolio are in a state of maturity where it suddenly makes sense to use additive manufacturing, and where the students or where staff is educated enough to apply AM and use the new freedom of design that they have to generate products that are dramatically outperforming everything that we've seen before.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Arno. So additive manufacturing is a great enabling technology, and I think it has many parallels to what we see in artificial intelligence right now. So we have the technology, we have the infrastructure to come up with real scalable AI cases, and there are hundreds and thousands of these cases out there. And the same is true for additive manufacturing.
So I'm wondering Niklas, what gets you excited?
I think it's two perspectives to look at it. One side we already mentioned before is the kind of the business model integration part, which excites me, but companies really covering all areas of delivering high service. And more from a technology point of view, we are specifically interested in the metal 3D printing segment, and then in the binder jetting area. That's what excites us, because we're seeing their high potential in realizing not only small batches, but also more mid-sized batches, or also the potential to do large batches in future, or also do mass production of metal components. That's what from our perspective, is really exciting, because we see that these processes currently can be done more efficiently, and that's an interesting topic for us. I think also all the post-processing is really interesting, because there's, from our perspective, also a lot of potential to improve. So different technological fields we are looking at, and trying to work with universities and other partners to identify how the future can look like. But if I would say what would really excite me is the integration part, because I'm seeing this technology, as mentioned before, early stage, high potential, but you need to educate the market, and you will not do it with a great technology. You need to go into the application field, deliver solutions, and that if we find their team who can deliver all the value chain, that would excite me, and where we would love to invest.
Thank you very much, Niklas, and thanks to all of you. Time is really flying having the discussion with you, which is a great pleasure.